Hi, I'm here to show you the different actions and triggers in Conduit's workflows. So jumping in here into Conduit, I just want to start off by describing the different use cases of workflows. Usually workflows falls under one in three buckets. The first is that workflows allows your AI agents to have asynchronous capabilities. What does this mean? AI agents already have access to synchronous tools. Synchronous tools are tools where you are accessing a resource and you're calling an API and then getting a response back that you could use to respond immediately back to the customer. An example would be Conduit's native tools like checking calendar availability and getting that information back immediately and responding back to the customer, or searching the internet, where searching the internet happens maybe within 10 to 15 seconds and that response is regurgitated back to the customer as well. When there's a need for asynchronous tooling, like a ping to a third-party vendor, and waiting for a response back from them, where the response back might take minutes or it might take hours, you would want to leverage workflows, because workflows is able to start, be called by an agent, and then actually sleep and wait for that response from the third-party vendor. And when that third-party vendor finally responds, it can reawaken the workflow, and the workflow can respond back to the customer using that information. And so workflows are extremely useful for this first use case, which is asynchronous tool calling. And how that is done is using the AI tool call trigger. You can define the type of inbox for which the AI tool call should be accessible in, the tool name. And so this tool could be contact vendor, a description, some parameters, and then any asynchronous action that you'd like. For now, we would do an agent injection, and this is a great segue to explain how agent injection works. So agent injection has two primary formats. The first format is the text agent injection. What this simply is it's an outbound agent that gets deployed dynamically inside the workflow in order to extract some information or achieve a specific goal. So for example, let's jump in here to the agent injection. You can define a task for your agent. So your agent's task is to ask the vendor where the order is. Where is the order? And then let's say you want to ask the vendor how long is the order going to take to deliver. You can add another field that the AI will extract from this conversation, and you can change the type. And what the agent injection does is it's essentially sending an initial outbound message optionally, but we would want to send one here. We can let AI generate it. It can be an email. And then you can use any dynamic fields as you'd like. For example, the order ID. And what this agent injection does is it sends an initial outbound message. You can add customized follow-ups to ensure that the vendor responds, and you can decide when you want to end, right? It's basically deploying an AI agent and setting a time to live for that agent. So if the vendor doesn't respond in 5 hours, we're gonna just immediately respond back to the customer saying, hey, we don't know, we're gonna follow up, but we've escalated this to a human. So let me just save this here with that single follow-up. On the success side, what this means is that we actually were able to contact the vendor, they've responded, and we've extracted some information from the vendor within the allotted time. If it's successful, what we can do is we can send a message all the way back to the customer from the AI tool call. We can just use the last message channel, and we can say, hey there, here's what we heard. Or actually, you know what? Let's just use the AI message. And so you can use AI to actually write the message for you. You can save this here. And then on the failed side, that would be if the AI agent is essentially not able to extract that information. And so it hits its time to live. And after 5 hours, it would fail. So on this failed side, I mean, what we can do is we can also send an AI message saying, inform the customer that you weren't able to get in touch with the vendor, but you've escalated the issue and we'll be in touch shortly, right? And what you can do is you can actually send a Slack message, let's say to one of our Slack channels, saying vendor did not get back to us for order number. So this is a very basic workflow that you can use to equip your AI agent with a tool call that is asynchronous. You can use this in a procedure by just hitting the / command based on whatever situation you want to call this in, and this would automatically run this workflow for you. One last thing is actually I forgot to edit the contact in this agent injection. I actually want to X this out because I don't want to send a message back to the contact that actually made that tool call. I want to send that to a vendor, and that's just, I'll put me for now. And so you would have a contact that's a vendor, and that contact would be selectable in this agent injection. So that's the first kind of workflow that you would build. A workflow that equips your AI agents that are inbound with these asynchronous tools. The second kind of AI agent is a CRM sync or a data replication agent. And so to do that, I'm actually going to use our AI workflow builder. And so what I'm going to say is I am receiving webhooks for new leads in my CRM, and I want to create a contact. Make sure I'm not duplicating contacts, so do a find contact first. And then Conduit is operating under a similar data model to HubSpot, where we're deduplicating on each contact method, right? So each email can only appear for one contact, and each phone number can only appear for one contact. And so, I mean, the best way for us, at least, to deduplicate is we believe it's phone number. And so we can actually, in this workflow, deduplicate on the phone number using the phone number. Here's the payload for the webhook, right? And then what a lot of people do is actually they add the CRM ID in here so that whenever we want to do a write back in the future, it's very easily accessible, and you can use that in a dynamic field in a webhook request. Okay, so let's just see what the AI workflow generator comes up with. Shout out Will for this sweet feature. And so while it's generating, this data replication workflow is very common if you are already operating inside another CRM. And a lot of our customers, sometimes they're forced by their upstream providers to have to use specific CRMs. And so even custom ones that don't have clean APIs and a direct integration of Conduit, you could still connect to, because you're essentially able to just update contacts through this webhook. So let's create and use this workflow. Let's see. So if a webhook is received with all this information, and what you can also do is, if you want to do this manually, you'll start listening. You'll hit this webhook URL, and then the sample payload will come here, and you can accept the payload. So let's just see what it does. It's finding the contact based on the webhook received. If it doesn't have a contact, then we would, let's see. So we find a contact by the user, let's say. If it doesn't have a contact, we will create it with the information. So that's super simple. What we can also do here is we can actually update custom fields. So let's say for the user that we found, we can update, let's just do something mock for now, where the webhook payload will put the lead source in the workspace name, for example. And so, yeah, if we find the contact, we just update the fields. If we don't find the contact, we can create, and we can also update the fields as well. And what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting the contact from the variable, the node here, which is step 2. Step 2. And then let's do the same thing from the webhook payload. We'll put the lead source in there in the workspace name. And yeah, this is essentially a CRM sync. It's a very basic one, but this allows you to do a lot of very, very creative workflows that can occur downstream. For example, if you're constantly updating contact custom fields in another system, you can trigger some workflow based on a update here. So you can either build the workflow inside here yourself, or you can trigger a sequence in a separate workflow by simply updating these custom fields. And I'll show you what that means in this final category. So that's the second category. That's data replication or data syncing with an external system. The final category is more of an outbound workflow, similar to how you would do an outbound sequence in standard CRMs and marketing automation tools like HubSpot. So the example that I want to take actually is semi-related to the CRM webhook. What I'm going to do is, with this lead source, I am going to create another workflow, and I'm going to start this from scratch. And this workflow is essentially going to be the speed to lead workflow. This is a very common workflow that people build in Conduit. It's essentially a workflow whereby whenever a lead enters our CRM, we can immediately call them with voice AI, qualify them, and depending on the situation and depending on the business setup, we can either immediately try to close them with voice AI, or transfer that call to a live agent, or schedule a time to book a meeting and chat with you later on the phone or on a call. So we're potentially hitting a lot of different use cases here, but I'm going to keep this one super simple. I want to call back to that CRM workflow where we updated the workspace name using the lead status. What I'm going to do here is we have a number of triggers that are based off of the contact events. And the most important one in this use case is the contact attribute updated. And you can select an inbox type and an attribute. So let's pick the workspace name. And if the workspace name, AKA the lead source from the webhook, is mailer, then I would want to trigger this workflow. And what do I want to do in this workflow? Essentially, I want to send a quick message, and I can just send an SMS here, pick from my blue text provider, and say, hey, we're going to give you a call in a minute. This is very, very useful as an initial message to actually increase pickup rates. We've seen that pickup rates have 10x'd by simply just sending this first text message, because people will recognize that somebody is about to call, and so they would most likely answer the call instead of just ignoring it if it was just a cold call. And what we'll do now is we're going to choose the other kind of agent injection, which is called an agent injection phone. This agent injection phone behaves very similarly to an SMS agent injection. The main difference is that the agent injection phone is an isolated instance within that node where there's no time to live. The time to live is essentially the phone call duration if they pick up, and if they don't pick up, it immediately could potentially exit. And so let me just show you how this works, right? Let's just take the hypothetical scenario where this mailer lead has come in, and in my agent injection, I want to ask some qualifying questions. So let's see, your goal is to ask clarifying questions before, let's say the goal is simply to just warm transfer the call to a live agent, right? And so this is very rough prompting here. This this definitely requires a lot more nuances depending on the use case. But I'm just doing this for sake of demonstration. So let's say, do you own a home? Are you looking to move homes in the next few months? What breed is your dog, if any? What's your favorite color? Let's just remove that first home one. So these are essentially the qualification questions that you can ask. I will make sure that it is programmatically trying to extract out these fields that we can use in later parts of the workflow. And having descriptive descriptions here are very important for the AI to extract correctly, but I'm just skipping this over for now for again, demonstrative purposes. The attempts here are slightly different from the AI agent SMS or AI agent texts, simply because it is a phone call, right? So it's either you pick up or you don't. So this is how many attempts we should make if the call is missed. And so usually what people do is they do a double dial after 30 seconds to get around the do not disturbs, and then potentially, one more after an hour. Let's just do that. And then we use a provider Conduit's AI line. We can define a greeting. The greeting can be, hi, this is John from Conduit. We'll leave a voicemail. If the phone doesn't pick up, we'll just skip this over for now. A phone number to transfer to. So this is how you would transfer to a live agent. Customer answers all of the questions and wants to be transferred, right? So we will make it a warm transfer as well. So include this information in your transfer brief. First name, last name. Let's just make first name. Oh, and then we'll just say, include all of the answers to the qualifying questions. Because this is the current node still, it doesn't have access to the variables just yet. One more thing that I want to just put is just this information saying, after you ask these questions, so in this prompt, the AI agent is actually able to access tools that is given to them. And these tools are defined in the same place that you define the prompts and configurations for your inbound agents. So your inbound and outbound agents for a specific phone number actually maintain the same configuration in terms of voice, responsiveness, temperature, and all those things. And it also has access to the same tools. The transfer tool is a default tool, and so you can just say straight up in the prompt here in the task that you should use the transfer tool. However, for custom tools, then you can use the slash command to refer to them inside this instruction box. And so that agent injection will essentially make a potential total max of 3 phone calls. And these phone calls are essentially made with the goal of qualifying this customer that just came into our CRM. For the phone calls, the success path is simply if the customer has picked up and did not opt out, right? So essentially this failed path, what this contains is all the opt-outs. So if the customer says, hey, I don't want to be called again, you can access it here. And so we can actually show you with the branch what the conditions are here. So the agent injection, if recipient has opted out, maybe we do a log. If they didn't opt out, maybe we send another text, like a breakup text, and then a potential opening for a re-engagement. We couldn't reach you. Call me back. And then in the success side, what actually is contained here, right? It's all of the information that you have potentially extracted from that phone call And then also an ability to branch on additional things as well. So for example, if you had a numerical extraction from the agent injection, you can use it as a condition in this branch. You can also make sure that this is, not equals yes or something like that. But we'll just skip this for now. What we like to do in this scenario is for speed to lead, what we can do is we can just update custom fields based on that information. Again, this is the user inbox type, and so we don't have many fields that we can throw these kind of random extractions into. And then a lot of folks like to send a Slack message and do some sort of alerting to their internal team, but you can also do a bunch of these other things like leaving a note, changing a contact's inbox. For example, let's say they are qualified and they own a home. Maybe you want to change their inbox into, some other role. You can add a delay and kind of add these flexible, temporal based business logic or temporally aware business logic. So you can wait until a specific time window with a time zone, maybe potentially use the local time zone of the caller or the contact's phone number. This is a smart time zone detection. And yeah, there are potentially many more nodes that can be added here. This is not an exhaustive list. This is a snapshot in time for what nodes we have available in Conduit right now. And just the final thing I want to hit on is customers that use us while having another separate CRM and wanting to keep a lot of the information there can add this send webhook node. And this send webhook node essentially allows you to sync back all of the data back into your CRM, so you can keep information synced up and remaining in one central repository instead of being spread between that and Conduit. At the end of the day, we think Conduit is the best platform for you to build and deploy these AI agents, and actually use Conduit as a CRM in order to help you build and improve your AI agents over time. We don't think an AI agent can be built with these workflows or with the agent hub and simply deployed. You kind of have to treat it like an employee where you're coming in, you're working alongside the agent, you're encountering various edge cases. And when you do find those edge cases, you're iteratively improving it, whether it is editing the prompt, teaching it more SOPs and procedures, adding more knowledge to the knowledge base, connecting different data sources into the knowledge base, or it's actually building and fixing up these workflows to catch those edge cases. And so a bunch of different things here, but to wrap it all up, that's the final use case of workflows.